Welcome, everybody. This is Protestant Spotlight, and we have a special Thanksgiving show for you today, so stay tuned. And welcome, everybody. Brother Goodwin here, Protestant the Spotlight. My good friend and co-host, Dr. Charles Hiltebittle, wishing everybody out there a happy Thanksgiving time. If you're watching this on CTN, you're watching right the day after Thanksgiving. If you're on YouTube, you're somewhere in that same area. Doc, we're doing a very special show today. We have planned this for
guest.
We planned this for a long time. We've got some guests that we brought in, and we're going to move the camera around a little bit. But we're going to start with you and I here, and
we have a lot to be thankful for.
And maybe just share a couple things that's on your heart about what's going on here in the ministry.
Well, I'm thankful that we've been on a little over a year. It's amazing. I honestly, when we started out, I didn't know we'd ever make it a year. Here we are, all the way into the second year. And
I think this is show 74.
Yeah,
Am I right
so
there? I think it's 70,
I
73.
We have a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah, so
thankful for the supporters that support us. Thankful for the people that can't afford to support us financially, but they support us by telling others about it. And everywhere I go preaching now, there's folks in the congregations. Yeah, we watch you on television all the time. So. Very thankful.
Doc, I got an envelope the other day. I opened it up. There was no letter in there. There was a $5 bill in there. Yeah. Now, who knows if that wasn't some 85-year-old lady that
the Lord knows.
She don't have any money, but she wanted to be a part. Yeah. And boy, that's just as important as the big ones.
I mean, I'd love for the Lord to give us a businessman or more than one that could financially monthly support us. And but you know. We're here today because God's people I'm thankful for it.
And in a few minutes, we're going to introduce one of our guests, and she's responsible, humanly speaking,
to have gotten us
she's
on
why
started.
We're here. Yep. And I'll tell that story in a few minutes. She's going to sit right there in that chair, but I'm very thankful. I started out, as you know, with writing books and preaching and evangelism. Got into prophecy, and way back in 2007, I think, and got heavily into it. And then 2014, my bestseller, God's Found Jubilee, came out. Most of our viewers know of that book. It's now the Mystery of the Jubilee book. It transformed into that. But got on became a guest on different radio and TV programs. Kind of got discovered, I guess, if you want to call it that. And, I mean, that book took off. And got on Protestant News several times, and then later on in recent years, when the host had left Protestant News, they actually asked me to be the host. So I hosted Protestant News for about 2 years, almost 2 years. But just prior to that, you and I met. You want to tell that briefly, that story?
Well, about a year before that, a preacher gave me one of your books, and said, I think you ought to meet this guy. You guys have got an awful lot in common, because he knew I spoke a lot on prophecy. And I was driving through, coming back, and I'd called you because I knew I were going to be driving by within a few miles of where you lived. And we met at Cracker Barrel.
In Owensboro, Kentucky.
Owensboro, Kentucky, had lunch, and in a few weeks you asked me to come out and be on the program out there with my Christmas story.
Yeah, actually, I don't think I was hosting Protestant News at this time, but maybe I was. I don't remember. But I know that what I do remember is when they asked me to take over Protestant in the News out in Oklahoma City, I needed some people fast. I needed to bring some guests in. And you, I think, were my first or second guest. I think you may have been the first. And you brought them Christmas that we're going to do here in a few weeks. We're going to do some stuff about Christmas. And you were one of my first guests, if not the first. And boy, the people loved you. We didn't know at the time, Doc, that
we had
that
no
God
idea
had
we were going to be here doing this. I was telling Sister Phyllis earlier that in the building we're in here. Folks can't see it, but anyway, used to be an old grocery store. And I was preaching in West Texas, a meeting about Tuesday night, about 2 o'clock in the morning. The Lord woke me up. Said, won't you ask me for this building? I had no idea that we'd be doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And God literally gave us this building and totally remodeled it. And here we are. He knew we were going to have this TV program.
You and I were making plans while I was still at Prophecy News. I didn't know. I knew Prophecy News was going to be over soon, but we were going to start anyway. Whether I was going to do both, and then at the last minute, all of a sudden, it was over. Prophecy News was done, and we had to scramble. We had no money. We had, I mean, it's thousands of dollars.
We still have no money.
We still have no money,
but we're here because.
And I knew this. I knew that if we're going to go on TV, we got to get on. We got to get on Prophecy News' spot so that we keep the audience.
Try to keep some of the audience.
Because how do you find you if you're on CTN? I mean, how do the people find you over there? Yeah. And so it's a miracle, and I'll tell that when we bring our guest on. I'll tell that story. But the money came. Yeah. We got on. I think we missed 1 week. I think they played something else after Prophecy News. The next week they played something else, and a few people called, "Hey, where's Prophecy News?"
Yeah.
And then the very next week,
our first program,
Prophecy in the Spotlight came on, our show. And
I quickly threw this all together, and so
we had a different setup. We had a different studio at the time, different.
But I'm thankful that we have the opportunity to hopefully share with a great part of the world.
We had no idea what God was going to do. No. God opened the door. Money started coming in. We get no salary for the whole year. We have not gotten any salary. Probably won't for the next year either. But we have our own ministries on the side and book sales and stuff like that. So we're not in this for the money. We're in this to proclaim.
It's a ministry.
The gospel of that book.
But I'm thankful the Lord allowed us. We batter back and forth and have a good time. And I'm thankful for the friendship that we have and the friendship that I believe we have with a great number of people we'll never meet till then.
And we're hoping that some more folks will get on board and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a financial partner. And we could we got so much more we want to do, Doc. And I know we're running out of time, but we're going to get on the radio. We are going to get on the radio. Yes. And we're going to do podcasting. We got several other things we want to do. We're doing prophecy conferences around the country. We want to do more of that. So it just takes God's people to give God's money and to help. And here we are at the end of all things.
I'm convinced of it.
Let's do all that we can.
Amen. But for all of you out there, I want to wish you all a great time with that. Even though our country's in a mess, our world's in a mess, as Christians, we have a lot to be thankful for.
We sure do. And I'm thankful for you, Doc. You're a great partner in this thing and a great co-host. I get to cut up with you and call you old and everything. And
that's all right.
And we do conferences together. It's wonderful. So, amen. All right. Well, stay tuned. We're going to bring our first guest in. All right. I have a special guest sitting here. This is Miss Phyllis Harden from Arkansas.
That's right.
All right, you're a special person in our ministry here, Miss Phyllis, and I know you were nervous and you're not nervous about being on TV, but you don't want to bring any light to yourself, and I understand that. Exactly. And that's not what this is about. We want the audience to know the story of how you and I got in touch. I don't even remember some of it, but I'm hoping you'll fill in a few details. So tell them just a little bit about you before we get into the story. But you had a lot to do with why we're here. And there wouldn't, in my opinion, we wouldn't be on TV had I not met you by way of the telephone. And in a few minutes, I want you to share that. But first of all, just tell the folks a little bit about yourself. You got some children. I know I haven't met your children yet. I don't know why, but I have not. My wife and I have both been to your home.
Yes.
We've spent a couple of nights there, had a wonderful time. And we're hoping to get back there real soon. And by the way, my wife back there, she's going to be on camera in just a minute. So she can't laugh because she's going to get on this thing too. And my producer's back there, Rex. And we're going to bring them in a few minutes here. But tell the folks just a little bit about who you are.
Well, nothing special. I'll have to disagree with him right off the front. I'm 70 years old. I still work, real involved in my job. I love it. I have 2 grown daughters and 4 grandchildren, 3 boys. We finally got a girl. So that's my spare time other than studying prophecy. And I actually started following you when you were still at Prophecy in the News. And then I think it may have been a little later, toward the end of Prophecy in the News, toward the end of that show, I had a lot of questions about the feast. I could not get that in order, and that's when I messaged you, and then you called, and I think we talked an hour and a half or 2 hours. I was amazed that you answered the phone and you spent that much time with me.
Okay, so this was before you became involved here.
Yes.
You called me to ask me some questions. See,
Yes. This was like in, maybe even in 18, but I know in 2019 I think was the first time
okay.
that
So
had talked.
I was still doing Prophecy News, and you watched us there. TV or YouTube?
TV.
Okay, so you watched us on TV, and
I
then
did.
you somehow probably got my number out of one of the books or something. And so we talked. So, so you were very interested in prophecy, and I guess we talked about the feast or something like that.
We did. You know,
Okay.
I still have those notes. I have to go back and refer to it every once in a while because I couldn't get that straight of what the ones that had already occurred and then the ones that are going to occur building up to the rapture. I mean,
Yeah.
we kind of like you in
Yeah.
the fall.
Yeah, the fall
And-
feast. Yeah,
And I do not understand why we're not raptured yet. But anyway.
it's not time yet.
I know.
He's coming at the day appointed, and he knows when that day is. But he, you know, I thought we were going to be out of here this year, but it looks like maybe we got some more time.
Right.
We don't want that because there's bad stuff coming. But oh well.
And then in 2020, we had been conversing quite a bit, and then a good friend of mine, Gail Brewer, he was
And
really.
he's gone to heaven now.
He's-
I got to meet him. We
That's
had
you.
dinner with them, him and Carol. We tried to get Carol to come, but
Yes. Yeah, he passed away 2 months ago. Just
and hello,
devastating.
Carol. She watches, right?
She does. She does, and her boys do too.
Yeah,
So
and I
they
talked to
take
her
after their
boys
daddy.
when he was dying. I
Yes,
think I talked to her
hospice.
boys on the phone, and,
Thank you for that
and
very much.
yeah, just a sweet time we had on the phone.
But we would always talk about prophecy. And if I had a question, I'd usually call him, and if we 2 of us couldn't figure it out, I'd message you.
So
But,
so how did I think June of 2020 is when we began Prophecy in the Spotlight. Prophecy in the News shut down.
Right.
It all happened fast, and we weren't quite ready. We were wanting to start Prophecy in the Spotlight. Me and my partner, Dr. Iltabittle,
Right.
we were wanting to start a show, but we had no money. And as we joked earlier, we still have no money. But anyway, I don't even remember how it happened, but I remember talking to you on the phone. I was at my daughter's. What's the name of that town? Murfreesboro, Illinois. I was out on the lawn. It was summer, and I was talking to you on the phone. Can you give us some details of how this happened?
Yes. It goes back to February of 2020.
Okay.
And that's when I had a stroke.
Oh,
And
yes.
I was in Virginia. I was driving back, and I had a stroke. I'd been in D.C. And you had sometime, I was already been through the stroke part and into rehab facility. And
It
you
hadn't been long,
me, right, you messaged me or something, and I just texted you back and said, you know, for the day and I've had a stroke.
I called you on the
And
phone.
then you called me, and then you sent beautiful flowers. But you helped me through that tremendously, and that's when I got a little more familiar with Lucretia. And
Lucretia's my wife.
yes, very precious
Yeah.
wife, and you know that. But after my stroke, the stroke was horrible. I did not.
You should have died.
I should have died.
God was there.
And by the time my girls got there, I was at the second hospital, and the doctor met them when they got there and said, you know, just put her in hospice. She's in a coma, but she will not wake up. She'll either be a vegetable or she will die.
Wow.
So the girls, thankfully, started questioning a lot about an MRI, and they said they could not get one. And they said, well, where can we? And they said, well, there's a stroke hospital at Charlottesville, Virginia. So they said, let's go. So anyway, they put me in an ambulance, and Stroke Team A was waiting on us when we got there at Charlottesville. And the doctors there didn't give the girls much hope either. They said, look, we've reviewed all of the first 2 hospitals while y'all were on your way here, and we do not see that she can live. But let us do some tests. Let us try and see what we can do. And I think by the 3rd day, I opened my eyes and did not know what the word stroke was. I didn't know the 2 ladies that were standing there holding my hand, or didn't know who they were. So it was very tough. I had to kind of relearn some things. My balance was off. I couldn't write. But the girls had started people praying on every church that they'd ever been to, and every church they were, the churches they were going to, everybody they'd worked with. And people in nearly every state was praying for me, as well as friends in Israel.
Yeah.
And I'm still finding out everyone that had prayed. But the doctors finally, after I began to start responding, because they didn't know, just even though I woke up, would I, be normal or
And
what
now
would
what
happen.
month is this again?
That was February 13th,
February, okay.
2020, the day before Valentine's Day. And so once I started getting better and I kind of knew who people were, I mean, they came in and talked with me and said, we gave you no hope. Said it was nothing short of, divine intervention. And said, you are a miracle.
Well, God had more for you and a
Yes,
purpose
He
for
did.
your life. And I can't help but think that this ministry is part of that purpose.
Well, one thing I did once I realized what had happened and what a stroke was, and I started being able to think and recall a few things, I never once asked God why. I never questioned it. But what came to my mind is, God, what are you wanting me to learn from this? For me to be not supposed to be here, nearly dying. Mm-hmm. What are you trying to tell me? What do you want me to see? What do you want me to learn? And that's when I think over the next few months, you stayed in touch with me, when I realized that Prophecy of the News was actually going to be over. And what this ministry had done for me, I didn't want it to end. I couldn't imagine, and it all kind of fell in place.
So how did the phone call happen? Did you call me?
I called you.
All right, I'm at my daughter's. I answered the phone. It's you.
Yes.
And what did you wanted to help?
I wanted to help.
I told you what we needed,
Yes.
and you told me something about, well, I'd like to help. And then I think you said, I'd like to give it all, but I got to go look. Mm-hmm. And you did. You gave me the full amount that we needed to start this ministry.
God had convicted me of this. When it started, when Prophecy of the News, I knew it would be over. And then I did have some funds that came in, and I felt God wanted me to give you this for this ministry. And I know the people out there, they watch these other shows. I have. I mean, I love a good preacher. I love to hear good preaching. And then some of the prophecy shows, I mean, I've watched them. But this ministry was different. They're always asking for money, and they're talking about their jets and their mansions. And this ministry was genuine. It's real. And your purpose, and Dr. Hiltebild's, I mean, it is for people to be saved. We don't have much time left. Mm-hmm. And that's where, I mean, we all love the prophecy, and it does help you to, it gives you signs for us. I know we don't know the exact date, but he gives you signs. He tells us that. Mm-hmm. But your main purpose, you want people to be saved. It's not going to be much longer that we're going to be here. And I'd just say to the people in the audience that are watching this show, if when you die or when this world is over and we're raptured out of here in this tribulation, if you do not accept Christ as your Savior, you will burn in hell.
Yeah.
And that never ends. It's a conscious agony, and it's forever. And people need to come to know the Lord before it's too late.
Now, do you think it's a good investment? Any
Absolutely.
regrets?
I have no regrets whatsoever.
And you've helped us since then. You've given several times,
but it's not me. It's
the Lord. I know.
And I told the doctors when they kept saying, "I'm telling you, you're a miracle." I said, "Give God the glory." Yeah. I said it was the prayer. So many people prayed for me, and God healed me. I'm not totally right. I have to be careful who I say that around, because they said I never was right.
I hung up the phone. I told my wife what had just transpired, and we met. I don't remember how long after that. It wasn't very long.
No,
we met in Kennett, Missouri, at a restaurant, had some coffee, and you handed me a check. And Prophecy in the Spotlight was born. It was born before that, but that's where that's where we gave birth right there, and this ministry became real. And I'm sure somewhere along the line I told Doc what was going on, and we were in.
Yeah, funds had come to me, and I thought, well, I wanted to do something for God, and it's God. It's God.
Yeah, only one's life will soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. Boy,
Amen.
I think there's a lesson there for all of us that if we really are in the last days like we think we are, why are we holding back? My goodness. In a race, that race car driver, he holds back for 489 miles, but when he realizes there's just a few miles left, that's it. You put the pedal down. You don't worry about anything except beating the other guy to that finish line. And Miss Phyllis, we appreciate you very much. And again, this ministry, humanly speaking, would not have started. I mean, you gave the money just in time. We got on there's more to the story that I could tell about getting on that week. We weren't quite ready. We had to really hustle to get a show ready. And we barely got one in time. In fact, it was late getting to them, but they got us on. I was afraid if we missed a week, we'd lose some of the audience. Because the Prophecy News audience knew me, and I knew that if we came on their spot, which we did, that's the 7 o'clock spot was Prophecy News. I knew that if I could get on that same hour, those same people are going to come in there to watch Prophecy News, and hey, well, that's Dan Goodwin, but that's not Prophecy News. And then, of course, we tell them what was going on, and so I think we've kept a lot of that audience, and we are sure thankful for you being willing. Boy, you look back at all the little pieces of the puzzle, how this all happened. The phone call to New Jersey or Maryland, wherever that was, the hospital,
Virginia,
and sending flowers. I had no motives about any of that. We knew each other a little bit over the months from talking.
But the fact that you had even sent that message that day, because I was in Virginia with no one around, and once they sent me to a rehab facility, my girls came home, and I was by myself and around people that, like the girls had said, "Mom, this is what stroke patients look like and sound like." You realize how fortunate you are. And I needed that phone call when you called and talked to me and prayed for me. And I have grown closer to the Lord under this ministry than people would realize. I mean, we've had COVID, but this ministry,
we've been trying to get you here, and I think the Lord wanted you here on this Thanksgiving time, and you're going to be spending the night. We're going to go out and eat in a little bit, but I want to thank you once again, and the folks out there, I'm sure they're thankful for you as well. We need some more Phyllises out there. We need some more people who want to invest in this ministry. Pray about it. Give us a call. Send us an email. Go to the website. We need some more people just like Miss Phyllis. You may not have a lot of money, but if the Lord has touched you about doing something, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, Miss Phyllis. God bless you.
Thank you.
All right, I wanted everybody to see the studio here. If you look over here, this is the studio. We sit in these chairs here every time we do a show. Doc over there and me over there. They put the good-looking guy over there, right? So I wanted you to see what it looks like here behind the scenes. Kind of neat, huh? And there's lights everywhere. And so I want to introduce you to somebody else that's very important here in the ministry, and that's my wife, Lucretia. And so I'm going to walk back here, and Rex is going to follow me. And we're going to introduce you to the star of the show here, Mrs. Goodwin. Look in the camera and say hello to everybody.
Hello.
All right. She was not excited about getting on. And but if you can see here, all the monitors that she has. Mrs. Goodwin, can you just briefly tell them what it is you do back here?
Well, I can switch this button to a different screen. Oh, Brother Hilt's missing today. And we're back to me.
Okay, so your job is to switch the cameras here and there. And so in other words, if somebody's talking up there, you'll switch the camera just to them. And,
yes.
And all right, and of course you have the headphones. You make sure that our audio is okay. And all right, well, good. Well, we're very thankful for my wife, and very thankful for all that she does for the ministry and for me. And we sure love her. And so I wanted you all to get to meet her. And we're back at it here. And here's our producer I'm always talking about, Rex Farmer. Good to see you, Brother Rex.
Hello there.
Yeah. Now, Rex, we go way back to Prophecy in the News.
Yes.
And I used to go out there to do interviews, and you would wire me out. And then the day came when they needed a host, and they asked me to take it.
Yes, and that was the best. That
so-
ended up being the best thing in my life because we got to continue on once Prophecy in the News ended, and it's been a great blessing for me to still work in the ministry.
And I remember we talked about what we were planning to do. We were going to try to get some of their studio stuff, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then when we finally decided to start, you wanted to be a part of it, and we were very excited for that. So tell them a little bit about what you do for us.
I do all the editing for Prophecy in the Spotlight. I take care of all the audio problems, and I do the graphics.
What do you mean? Are you saying we have audio? We have
Sometimes
problems?
I got to cut out your jokes, Dan. That's the only thing. But-
There wouldn't be a show left. So you, in other words, my wife sends you the file.
She sends me all the raw video files, and I put them together, and we make a show out of it.
Yep, they all come in clips and everything.
Yeah.
And you helped us out today. You were actually on site today.
Yeah.
And did some of that fancy camera work back there. So you edit stuff, and then you actually upload it to CTN.
Yes, I send it to CTN.
All right, so you do all that. And
Upload the YouTube and the Rumble channels. You take care of the Facebook still, but I do the other stuff.
All right, yep. And you upload to YouTube and all that, Rumble.
Yeah.
And Rex, we want to personally tell you in front of the audience here how thankful we are for you. You've been a tremendous help. We didn't know a lot about what we were doing.
Yeah.
And it was a blessing to be able to have a real producer be on board with us. We pay you a little bit, but it ain't enough to live off of. And you didn't want anything. And
I was very heartbroken when Prophecy in the News ended.
You were there about 4 years.
Yeah,
I think.
and I just loved, working in the ministry, and I was very thankful that you wanted to still do something. I thought it was over, and I was out, and I wasn't going to be able to do anything.
Well, Rex,
but-
we appreciate you very much, and we're going to continue, and we appreciate you out there that are watching us. I wanted you to meet some of the folks behind the scenes, my wife and Rex, and of course some of the folks who helped get us started, Miss Phyllis. And so I hope you've enjoyed the show and the behind the scenes look at things, and we'll see you next week. But until then, keep your eyes on the skies.